Hello, everyone. Mother Nature kept me awake when I was doing ride sharing, excuse me. Now, I usually would do it in the morning, like before the sun was up, like it was still dark outside. For those wondering, um, most times I would be awake. Now, sometimes I would be fatigued, not fatigued to where I put myself in danger or any other individuals around me in danger. Never, never to that extreme. However, when I was like that, Mother Nature always woke me up. There was one time I was going to pick up a client. I was a little sleepy, so I rolled the window down, and this was during the fall time period, around like late October, early November. Cool breeze it hit me as I'm driving. It just woke me up, kept me alert. Um, and I usually don't like the cold. I prefer summer days, but on that morning, I was thankful for the cold, for the wind, for the breeze. Boy, it kept me in awake and alert. Usually my music does it, but at that time I didn't even cut my music on. I had just started driving and was trying to debate if I wanted to go scoop up breakfast from an establishment while I was on the way going to where I needed to be. Then there was another occasion where I found myself being somewhat fatigued. This was like at the conclusion of me driving about 12 hours. But guess what happened? It started raining. Now, legend has it that once it rains, some people begin to get sleepy. And that's true. However, when you're behind the wheel, at least for my situation, when I was behind the wheel and it started raining, that woke me up. Because, of course, one always has to be alert when driving, no matter the weather. But when it's raining, when individuals to your left and to your right and in front of you, and even some behind you don't know what the heck they're doing, you have to take into consideration some individuals don't have good tires. Some folks get tires, but they don't get the new tires. They get the used tires. There's nothing wrong with used tires, but it doesn't trump new tires. Um, and then of course those individuals that may be on their cell phone, not paying attention. Those getting into an argument when they're with their significant other, or they can be celebrating with their significant other because they had a good day, some marvelous news. Anyway, it can be positive or negative, but that rain definitely did it. One, just the fact that it was raining. Then two, it was hitting the window. It wasn't like that rain where I had to pull over because I couldn't see the lines in the road. It was just enough to alert me, and of course to alert everyone else. Because even during that period, I believe I was on 183 at the time, and people went from speeding to as it started raining, you know, uh, dropping their speed as they should. Don't want to hydroplane. So that's only makes sense. In fact, when it tends to rain, especially heavy, I tend to get in the right lane because though Mother Nature is keeping me awake, that's the safest spot I can be is in the right lane because most folks are not speeding in the right lane. Um, Believe it or not, there was a time where I was feeling myself getting a little tired, but on this day it was sunny. It was a summer day, and I just rolled the window down, and the sun was just coming through. Of course, it was coming through the front, but that heat, it was that different kind of heat. It just it was so hot you couldn't kind of like crack an egg on, and it would be done. Now, one may think like, well, that could disturb you and all of that nature. However, prior to me rolling down my window, I had the AC on because, of course, I knew it was hot. And then I said, hey, turn the AC off. It did help that I was listening to some good music at the time. Rolled the window down. The sun hit my skin. Felt good. It was like a good awakening. It's almost like some of you all may know, some of you all may not know. It's kind of like when they used to have that heater that when you plug it in, it lit up. And Like you don't like when I had it or when we had it, my family at the time. I never put my hand on it, but I did put it close enough to feel that heat. Just you know, letting me know, hey, stay in your lane. Don't go any further because you will injure yourself and burn your skin. Of course, it was common sense, but that is how that sun felt when it hit my skin. It was like, in fact, I ended up rolling down both windows, and I was alert to complete the mission of picking up the client and getting them to where they needed to be at a proper time. Um, Also, Mother Nature kind of helps keep one awake, well, mainly me, and maybe you all when y'all get tired out there. Those that do ride share, riding or driving, just because when the weather changed, there's been times I was on the road and it was pouring down, and then it stopped raining. The sun came out, people started speeding. So when people start speeding on the road, you got to move with the flow of traffic, depending on what lane you're in. You have to always have your head on the swivel because not just individuals in cars, you have the folks in the sling vehicles. You have some folks that ride bikes, believe it or not on the highway, but once you get off on the back roads. Then of course you have the veterans to be on the motorcycles, some on what I would refer to like as the safe motorcycle because you can like sit down, seems as though you um, have a lot of space, and then what I would call the normal motorcycle where you can just easily speed and slide through lanes. Now, forgive me to all my motorcycle folks out there. I do not know the name of the motorcycle, but it's like a safe motorcycle. Like you usually have the couples in it, or it can be one person in it. But either way, still gotta be on the lookout. And you know, Mother Nature kept me awake even in those times when the weather would change. But then another scenario where Mother Nature worked in the favor while keeping me awake. I had just got off work at this time, um, and I hadn't even decided if I was going to turn the app on, but I was vacating this establishment, and there was so many stars outside, so many stars, and then I heard like the crickets making the good old sound, and shortly thereafter the sun rose. The sun was rising, and that kept me awake. It's like because as you know, when you're up at a certain period, the body goes through certain changes, and sometimes when a person stays up past a certain hour and sees the sun rises, it kind of throws their body off. But mine didn't get thrown off. In fact, it got more energy, more electricity to run through me to where I was like, all right, I can drive. It always helped me to have some good music playing. Maybe um, what I like, jazz, hip hop, some country, some podcasts, listen to a variety of different podcasts. Um, but sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes, Mother Nature will keep me awake. And hey, maybe you all can tell me, were there ever a time when you were driving? Again, it doesn't have to be you doing rideshare. You could have just been you driving to see a family member or driving to anywhere. You thought you were sleepy, but Mother Nature did what Mother Nature does and kept you awake. Just let me know, comment, tell me what your thoughts are. Um, yeah, I mean, that's one thing I gathered from my experiences doing rideshare. I thought I knew it all, but I was quickly reminded that I'm forever a student because things can always happen with people on the road. And one of the reasons that it can happen is due to Mother Nature. Rain, snow. Um, in fact, there was one time I was wanting to do rideshare, but Mother Nature kept me awake and made me make a common sense choice which was stay myself off the road. At the time in DFW, was the weather was changing to where we were having cold temperatures. It was going to be ice on the ground. I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. One, because I attempted doing it one time. Car slid down the hill. I was over there in Fort Worth. It was very spooky, but it was a valuable learning experience too. When I know that I'm gonna be in weather of that nature, stay parked, stay still, and stay home. So now I play no games with that. Um, so yeah, that's all for today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Like, share, and subscribe, and feel free to click the link and go get my book. Again, to help you, to help a friend, to help a family member, and it will definitely help an enemy. But that's all for today. You all have a good one. Peace.